All right, hello. My name is Elizabeth Ashcraft. Welcome to the Coffee Talk for Experiential Learning. I work as a career strategist in the Career Services Office, and today I am here with Barrett Bugg. Barrett, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a sales manager with a company called Water Logic. Again, my name's Barrett Bugg, and I've been in a sales career for 17 years now.
So 17 years is a long time. A lot of,
Yeah.
freshmen coming in, they're about 18 years old. So you've been doing
That's right.
most of their lives. Why do you think, after being in sales for so long, that a sales experience is valuable for everyone?
Yeah, I think, from my experience, I've had the good fortune of being a sales rep. I've owned a business, worked in small companies, corporate America. I've been a manager, obviously. I am a manager. So, when I answer these kind of questions, that hopefully they're as well-rounded and comprehensive as possible. So having said that, I think the term sales experience, I love that concept because I believe it includes, learning sales techniques as well as sales skills or selling skills. I think we can all agree that everybody benefits from developing these kind of skills, because I just think it makes for a good citizen in corporate America. I think in order to survive in any professional position, Elizabeth, that's you, that's me. We sell concepts, we sell ideas. It's not just goods and services. If we take me, for example, let's start with what I do, right? I sell bottleless drinking water purifiers and ice machines and coffee services, right? Those are goods and services, right? The most stereotypical type of salesperson. Well, a physician, right? A physician might sell health and wellness and nutrition and exercise. An accountant might sell his or her services to a potential client. Lindenwood sells their educational system and the value it brings, right, when they compare it to other universities. Well, in an interview, right? Don't we sell ourselves? We sell ourselves during an interview in order to land that position. I think the healthy mentality is that we're all selling something, and anybody can be a customer at all times, always, right? Whether it's an attorney, a physician, a teacher, a sales manager, a corporate HR manager, right? Asking for funding for personnel development. You name it. So I think, part B of that answer is sales experience. I think if I'm in college, what I'm going to try and focus on is I'm really going to be cognizant of how I perform my group work, right, in my classes. I think how I interact with professors, asking them for advice, brainstorming with them, internship opportunities, right? I had to do 2 internships in college. It's a lot of work, right? And you have to pay for the credits, and I didn't get paid for them, right? So I'm going to make sure I build off of that experience. Or what about part-time jobs or full-time jobs? What about, in college, a student has to convince mom and dad that, hey, I need more money in my bank account, right? I got to sell that, right? I got to sell that. So, and I think that the last point of there is if I'm in college or anywhere in life, I'm going to look for a mentor. I'm going to look for personal enrichment opportunities, and I'm going to actually seek out mentors and not wait for someone to grab me. If I really like a teacher, then maybe I pull that teacher aside and say, hey, I like what you do. Could I interview you sometime? Could I sit down with you for a half an hour? And could you tell me how you got into it or whatnot, right? Guarantee selling skills will be part of that. We have to be memorable, right? We have to differentiate. And having a degree is a good start. Having a college degree, it's a great first step.
So I see that you mentioned just having a college degree. So maybe like a specific degree isn't super important to going into sales. How did you get into sales? Was your background in sales, or did you major in something else in college?
Yeah, I think it's interesting you ask, because, college, whether it's a degree we utilize per se, doesn't it teach us a way to think, a way to organize, a way to analyze, right? It's enrichment, right, of the human mind. So, I got into sales kind of in the oops way. right? I mean, I was in professional tennis as a coach, and it just wasn't a lifestyle that I wanted to live, traveling 46 weeks a year, right? So, my degree's in exercise science, probably the furthest thing from a sales career, right? But I knew I had a lot of experience giving presentations, and I liked it a lot. And I thought, well, gosh, that might be able to be a useful tool if I'm going to be in sales. So I think I read a book, and it said something about having an elevator speech. And I wrote an elevator speech, and I told it early and often, like all the time. And it led to a sales position interview. And 2 hours later, I had the good fortune of being hired, and I started my sales career. I mean, I knew I liked helping people. I knew I liked talking to people. And I'd say, Elizabeth, that's the way I look at sales. I mean, I can either help someone or I can't. If I can't help this person, then I'll just find someone else I can help. If you believe in what you do, I think it's a healthy way to look at sales. Goods and services, concepts, ideas, whatever it is.
I like that. I also like that you mentioned doing an elevator speech. We tell students about that all the time and how important that is, because that's kind of, like you mentioned, we're constantly selling ourselves, and that's what you're doing with an elevator pitch, is you're selling yourself to an employer, to whoever it is you're talking to.
Yeah.
So you kind of fell into sales in the oops way. How do other people get into sales, and what does that look like?
Yeah, the oops method, or I mean, I just say it that way, whatever it's called. It's hey, I didn't plan on it, but oops, I'm in it. And in business to business sales, that happens to be the type or the category of sales that I've always been involved with. It's very common. Someone who gets involved in like office equipment sales, very common, right? That it's oops, I need to make more money. What I'm doing isn't working, and maybe I can sell and make more, right? And it turns into a career, right? Not for everybody, but for a lot of people. So, when I say oops, I mean accidentally, just because you meet the right person. It could be a former, I don't know, a teacher. I have a rep on my team, and he used to be a teacher for 22 years, and he fell into this and wishes he would have done it a long time ago, right? Because his life would be totally different. So I'd say that's option one. The other option is, if anybody listening is working on a marketing degree, that's the probably stereotypical way that someone would get into sales, right? I have a marketing degree, and I'm gonna work for an ad agency, or I'm gonna work for Anheuser-Busch or Bayer, right? Or Adidas or Nike, and I'm gonna write ad campaigns. That's a different type of sales, right? So I think one of the misconceptions, every career has misconceptions, right? But I think in the sales arena, there are misconceptions that everybody's, what's the word I want to use? Everybody's kind of peddling something. And I've never thought of myself.
A used car salesman.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's fair, right? So,
yeah.
So let's take that example, right? So that might be super attractive, Elizabeth, for a lot of people. Others, they may just totally be turned off by that. I understand both sides of that. And I think that's to my advantage if I understand both sides of that, because I know how to buy and I know how to sell. And if I know how to do one, I probably know how to do the other, right? So if we look at sales roles, I mean, these are just the ones I can think of. One would be, like I talked about so far, that a business to business outside sales representative. I'm a hunter. I go out and find the business for my company, right? Another could be, I don't know, working at the Gap, at the mall. I work in retail, right? That's a different kind of sales. Another could be starting a business or being an entrepreneur, right? That's a type of selling, a lot of pressure. You could be a manufacturer's rep. What if you worked for General Motors and you're a manufacturer's rep? It's my understanding that a lot of times manufacturer's reps have engineering degrees, and they're able to adequately explain what they want to do, like their communication skills are proficient. And so these engineering degree people become salespeople for large companies as a manufacturer's rep. Another could be account management, right? Here's a book of business. Go manage that now. Go manage that book of business for this particular company. And then I'd say the final type of sales role would be like a call center, right? So, you're watching an infomercial and you decide, I'm going to call that number. And I call into the call center and somebody picks up the phone. That's a type of selling. So there are just so many roles that not everybody has to go out and find the deal, right? That's a specific skill set that maybe can be developed. But not all of selling is just finding. Some of it is just helping someone make a decision, for that matter. So I'd say, now again, I try to relate everything to the listener, right? If I'm in college, how do I use this information? So if I'm in the front lines and I'm interested in getting into sales as a college student, right? Or someone who's just out of college, or maybe someone transitioning from a career considering sales. I mean, here's my question to the listeners. If you owned a business, would you prefer, if I'm applying to your job, would you prefer that I apply online and then you reach out to me and interview me? Or would you prefer that I come in to your organization, to your sales organization, and apply for that position? Which would be more impressive to you as the business owner? If it's me, it's overwhelmingly more impressive to show the initiative and approach the sales organization myself, because it allows me to differentiate. Already, my resume is going on top, right? I may not be able to get that meeting with the owner when I drop it off, but you know what? It shows initiative. And isn't that what a salesperson does? We show initiative. It kind of showcases the selling skills that are necessary for that sales position that might be open.
You've listed a lot of different types, like business to business, account management, retail. There are all these different types of sales type positions. And you mentioned that having initiative is a great quality of a good salesperson.
Yeah.
From your experience, what other attributes make a good salesperson?
I would say, I mean, gosh, there are so many, and I'll list off as many as I can think of, but I'd say one of the most important is a good, active, present listener. Here's my example, or I'm sorry, my question to everybody listening to the podcast. How many of us right now have our phones in our hand and we're looking at our phones while we're listening to this, right? Nothing right or wrong with it, but if I want to be a successful salesperson, right, active listening skills, essential for implementing any sales skills. Because if I can't listen, if I'm not willing to listen to what Elizabeth, let's say your buying needs are, then how can I help you, right? If I don't listen, then I'm just talking at and hoping that you either kick me out or buy something. That's old school. That is from the 50s, the 60s. That's old school stereotypes of salespeople. So it starts with listening. I think being likable is a big one, right? I mean, everybody wants, if I'm going to buy, this pen, right? Would I rather buy it, the same pen, from someone I like more or like less? I'm going to try and help the person I like more, I get along with better, if I'm going to buy this same pen that I can buy at 10 different places, right? So being likable is a big deal. I think being independent, because a lot of times salespeople, we're out on our own, we're by ourselves. Independent, accountable, right? I want to be a problem solver. I want to be able to find any problems in Elizabeth's business, let's say, that she might have, so I can provide a solution and in turn sell something. It's a win-win partnership, right? Being able, I think this is different than likable, but I think being able to relate well to people, so that I can understand where Elizabeth is coming from in this example, so I can understand what her needs are, right? And then I want to have a great attitude as well, be persistent. I mean, if you tell me no, Elizabeth, for the first time, maybe in 6 months, it's a better time, right? Timing's everything in sales. It's everything. I don't need a new phone today, but in 5 years I might, right? I mean, I'm going to have a phone. It's just timing, right? So, I'd say hard work, being a hard worker, that's a huge deal. Because let's see, when I first started in sales, I was told, Barrett, if you get out of bed in the morning as a salesperson, you're going to be better than 90% of the salespeople you're going to compete against. And I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. Guaranteed, I'm going to do that. If you're really good, right, and you work really hard, you're going to be better than 97% of all salespeople. And then that last 3%, that's just how good can you be right? How well can you relate and solve that problem? But most of it's working hard and holding ourselves accountable, right? As a manager, now I'm going to switch, right? As a manager looking for someone I would prefer to have on my team, I would want someone to be coachable. If I hire someone who doesn't have a lot of skills, does he or she pick up on that, right? Willing to pick up on that. So coachability is a big deal. Presentation skills, communication skills, of course, right? I mean, it's like a teacher every teacher is going to have wonderful presentation skills. It's what they do, right? So, if we talk about energy level, I think this is a very, very interesting topic when we talk about salespeople. I'm probably at one end of the spectrum in terms of energy, right? But there are a lot of people on the other end of the energy spectrum who do great. I'd say more salespeople are probably maybe laid back than they are maybe high strung. I'd say more people want to buy from people who are pretty cool and laid back and they don't make them feel pressure, rather than someone who pressures a lot, right? Not to confuse energy with pressure. Big difference, right? But perception's everything, right? Perception's everything. I'd say one last comment about attributes. I mean, when I look upon our organization, I mean, I could introduce you to, one male and one female, right? Two people I'm thinking of. They're stereotypical salespeople, right? They want to be on the stage. They have great energy. But I can introduce you to someone in Louisville, 2 years out of college. She's rather introverted, rather reserved. She's really confident. She may not love to be in large groups, but no one's going to outwork her, right? No one's going to outwork her. So it's basically what you have, I think, and how we adapt it to the sales role, right? Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And I think that was a really good way to round it up, because again, like, I didn't hear a specific major. It's all these qualities, and these are things that are also learnable. You can learn how to do these things, and it doesn't matter what your major is. It doesn't matter what you're studying. It doesn't matter where you've worked before. And it sounds like anyone can go into sales and anyone can be successful as long as they're willing to work hard at it and kind of find their niche, because there's different types of sales, and you gotta be willing to work hard and be willing to help people, because that sounds, from what I've gathered, like based on what you said, that's kind of the end goal, is just helping others.
Yeah, I think I would also expand on that in one way in particular, and that comes down to training. This gets asked a lot. And if I'm in college, this is something I'm going to drill down on, right? I'm going to say, okay, relative to this sales role, I've never done sales, but tell me, what kind of great initial training does your organization offer to help give me a chance to be successful? So that's part A. Part B is, what about ongoing training? So you're going to teach me how to sell, right? Now I memorize, I develop, and I buy into the sales process, let's say. Going forward, though, once I know it, where's my ongoing training? How am I going to stay sharp, right? So I think we have two components there that are really, really critical. You look at the best sales organizations, they don't just go, okay, Barrett, you're hired, and then, kick me out and hope I can do it. There's a lot of monitoring. There's a lot of, Barrett, this is what you bring to the table. Let's emphasize this. This is what you're not so great at. We're either going to develop that or minimize it. It's no different than being an athlete, right? No different. So I hope that answers your questions.
It does. Thank you so much for your time. It was great having you on this podcast. I'm sure we're going to have a ton of questions come in of those wanting to learn more. So if any listeners have any questions, please reach out to careerservices@lindenwood.edu, and we'll be more than happy to help. Thank you again, Barrett, for your time. It was great having you on.
Thanks. Enjoyed it. Thanks, Elizabeth. Bye-bye.
Bye.